It's a special day indeed. Some would say it is the day on which Jesus was born. But we claim it because we are Thursday born. So if you are Yao, Yawa, or whatever your name is, today is your day. It's a special day for us. And of course, if you were born on a Thursday, top of the morning, a special one to you. Yes, I know I can discriminate a bit on that. But wherever you are, thank you for making the time to join us right here on the AM show with Bernice and Benjamin. Now, coming up today, the news will be served to you hot, or like the Nigerians will say, wata, in a little bit. And right after that, guess who joins us for the news review? Development economist and senior lecturer at the University for Development Studies, Dr. Michael Ayamga. He'll be our special guest for that segment. After which we'll bring you sports with Mubarak Haruna. And then we get into our big stories. Now, first on the list, the National Peace Council says it has followed with deep concern and sorrow the unfortunate violent clashes in some parts of the country, resulting in the deaths of some citizens of certain parts of the country. In one area, 8 people have lost their lives. We can talk about Kintampo in the Bulla region, and Kwanta in the Oti region, Wenchiki in the Northeast region, among others. Now, it was the Inspector General of Police and the security agencies to strengthen investigations already underway with the required resources to assure the affected families and the Ghanaian public of speedy justice. We'll be deliberating on that issue this morning as we get into our first big story for the day. We'll be hearing from the NPC on that beat. Again, from today, of course, there's going to be a lot of talk about the Habitat Fair. We'll bring you some conversations on that bit in respect of the Habitat Fair between today and Sunday. The EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair will take place at the Accra International Conference Center. It's not one you want to miss. From morning till evening, an array of building solutions on display. You miss it, you miss out. That's the way this looks. Also coming up on the show this morning, we're going to expect you to get interactive with us on the many issues we're going to be discussing. And as well, we'll be hosting a number of other issues or campaigners. Let me start from the Clean Ghana campaign. The Sekondi Takoradi Metropolitan Assembly is on a drive to rid the metropolis of filth and open defecation. According to that assembly, over 1,400 households in the SDMA do not have toilet facilities, forcing 702 households to resort to open defecation. Now, the Assembly is partnering Joy News on this campaign. We'll bring you details later on the show, even as we also talk about the first international conference on gender equality in Ghana. All of these lined up for you this morning on the AM show. Just stay with us, walk with them through as we do this for God and country. My name is Benjamin Akako. Stay with me for the news up next. Thank you for saying welcome to the News Belt on the AM show. Let's head into our first story now. Day 2 of the 2024 budget debate saw Member of Parliament for Kpando, Delasoa, going biblical, just like Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta when he presented the budget. According to Delasoa, this government and the Finance Minister are attempting to use the name of God to deceive citizens into voting for them. The debate also saw members of Parliament on the ticket of the governing NPP tout what they said was government's superior record in the road sector. There's more in this report.
Focus on communications, energy and roads, works and housing, sanitation, and the environment. And the NDC and NPP MPs have been going at each other. NDC MP for Kpando, Honorable Delasoa, was quick to take on what he believes is Ken Ofori-Atta and government's reference to the Bible as a means to deceive the public.
This government, they are always quoting scripture. I'll quote one. Bible says in Proverbs 29 verse 2, when the wicked rule, the people mourn. They mourn. When you call the name of God in vain, God will make forces come together against you. He said, when the wicked rule, the people mourn. There's mourning everywhere in the country. Why? Because wicked people are in rulership. Look, I shudder to think that this government wants to break the eight. It's scary. It's like saying, after all we've done, the hopeless things we've done, where we've taken Ghana to, we'll continue it. Hey, you saying?
We also heard from Deputy Majority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin, who took on the NDC and claims that the NDC are completely bad managers of the economy and cannot purport to lecture the MPP on how to govern.
Today, voting ambition of the NDC minority that failed this country at the time they left office, all the economic indicators were at its all-time low. In spite of all the challenges that we are facing as a country, this Nkunim budget has set down 3.5 billion cedis for the road sector for arrears to contractors and to also complete ongoing road projects. This is a positive news.
His colleague, the Deputy Minority Leader Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa, explained that this government has been killing businesses. He also took on what he believed was government's lethargy in dealing with all the problems that Ghanaians have been crying about since they assumed office in 2017.
Are we not surprised that food inflation is really off the roof? It gets worse, Mr. Speaker. If you look at the ease of doing business ranking, Ghana, the darling boy of ease of doing business, in 2012, we were second out of 190 countries. By 2020, we had moved to 118. Mr. Speaker, and if you look at the criteria for ease of doing business and the reason we have done so badly, it shows us why every business is collapsed. Every indicator really shows that this government is simply not good for business.
One big issue that has come up on day 2 of the debate is who has constructed more roads. We heard from Chairman of the Roads and Transport Committee, Kennedy Osei-Nyako, who claimed that this government, led by President Akufo-Addo, has invested in road sector more than any government in the history of this country.
So far, within the 7 years that the Akufo-Addo government has been in power, how much the government have pumped or invested into the sector? It's about 16 billion. This is the highest any government in our history has ever made into the road sector, 16 billion. As we speak, Mr. Speaker, within 7 years, the government has been able to expand our road network, the size of our road network, from the 78,402 kilometers that we met to 94,203.
NPP MP for Doma East, Pochum Berima, also took on the NDC's attacks on Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia and said nothing will stop the current Vice President from going on to become the next President of the Republic.
I bring my conclusion. Mr. Speaker, I can confidently tell you that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo will hand over to His Excellency Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia, and he will continue the good work that we are doing. And as I said, Mr. Speaker, we are not going to say too soon, but we can assure you that in heaven we will remember you and remember our colleagues.
The budget debate will continue tomorrow, Thursday, the 23rd of November, with the spotlight being shown on education, health, unemployment, youth, sports, tourism, culture, and chieftaincy. Like we've told you, this debate is going to continue until next week, Tuesday, when leadership on both sides will be expected to wrap up. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
Meanwhile, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin has summoned the Ministers for National Security and Interior to appear before the Defence and Interior Committee of Parliament today to brief the committee on actions being taken by government to forestall a clash between the Mo and Wangara tribes in the Kintampo North municipality.
Minister for National Security, the Minister for the Interior, as the first authorities to come to this house to brief the Committee on Defense and Interior. This is urgent matter that should be handled with dispatch. I think tomorrow should be okay for the two ministers and their commanders to appear before the committee early tomorrow morning by 9 a.m. to brief the committee. It's an urgent matter. The National Security Council, through their regional office, should immediately intervene because the chieftaincy institution is one of the cornerstones of the peace and security of our country. And we hold that institution dearly. And we should do everything to prevent that institution from falling into disarray. But this, I think, is a simple matter. The president of the Wangara community is the president of the Wangara community in Ghana. That is what the statement says. Not just in the Kintampo traditional area, in Ghana. And so they have a festival, which is an annual festival they celebrate, called Kulubi Festival, within the period. The paramount chief of Mo, and we know how key the Mo tribe is in Ghana, even though a lot of them are rather in Côte d'Ivoire. It's a very important tribe. The paramount chief of the Mo and the president of the Mo Traditional Council is deciding to perform some rituals. That one is not an annual festival because that festival is the Benkadi Kurubi Festival. And there's a period for celebration, but it is just to perform some rituals. It's a belief that if that is done, some spirits could intervene to try to prevent accidents and other criminal activities within the area. So they don't have the same, to me, import.
And our next story, the Ashanti Regional Juror Association is asking Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu to follow through on her promise to intervene in the payment of their 10-month salary arrears. The group called off its strike after a meeting with the Chief Justice in Kumasi. Nabwachi Adam has the rest of the story.
After a fruitful meeting with the Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu, the jurors in the Ashanti region, specifically at the Kumasi High Court, have resumed work. According to the foreman of the Juror Association in the Ashanti region, Justice Gertrude Tokonu, the jurors in the Ashanti region, specifically at the Kumasi High Court, have resumed work. According to the foreman of the Juror Association in the Ashanti region, Albert Aka, the association is comfortable with the work they've started.
We are comfortable. Even before CJ came here, we went to Accra. We took the opportunity to go to Accra to see her, and unfortunately, the nature of her work, we couldn't get access to her. Then we came back. So when all these things were happening, we were looking up to him to even come down to see her children, and that's what exactly she did. And as you said, when she came, he promised us. So we are comfortable and we are even happy that CJ, and it has never happened in the history of jury system before, when I joined, or even before, that CJ came to meet a session of the jurors. You see, upon hearing that they are hungry. So that alone is a plus to CJ.
Although they have resumed work, Mr. Albert Aka says the jurors are expecting the Chief Justice to follow up on their allowances as promised.
As CJ said, she will make sure that the arrears will be paid to jurors. and it won't delay anymore. And that's the assurance she gave. So she pleaded with the jurors that we should immediately resume work on Monday. That was yesterday, Monday. Then we came, but we have not yet have any interaction with her again. Yet we are planning as jurors to select few to go and meet her in Accra, so that other things related to the jurors and the delay in the allowance and other matters also will be addressed. We should also give her the benefit of the doubt that she promised to make sure that the chunk allowances will be paid, and furthermore, it will not delay again.
After a fruitful meeting with the Chief Justice on Friday, the jurors are yet to hear anything officially from the administrator nor the Chief Justice. They say they will continue to perform their duties in various courtrooms. From the Appeal Court Complex, my name is Anna Boachitan-Kwayadom.
Now, the combined effects of ambient air pollution and household air pollution are associated with 6.7 million premature deaths annually. Household air pollution exposure leads to non-communicable diseases, including stroke, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and lung cancer. Fortunately, a student of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology has developed a device to detect these gases. On Tech Thursday, Love FM's Kwesi Deborah speaks with the developer, Kwesi Egan, of the KNUST Physics Department.
Okay, so we actually saw that there was an increase in some air pollutants, which was mainly the particulate matter, 2.5 micron. And with that, at the beginning of the year, we heard some news that the concentration has really increased because of some movements of air from the sub-Saharan area to the coastal areas. So the concentration was quite dangerous for people. But here lies the case that we didn't have many monitors around, so we couldn't see the maximum or how the effect was, and we couldn't actually protect ourselves from this particulate matter. And mostly the sensors outside are expensive and very difficult to work with. So we just came up with the idea to make our own sensor, which is cost effective, and also maybe we can have a wide network of it and monitor the air quality better. It's actually an IoT device, which is the Internet of Things. So you have various sensors which are being embedded on a microcontroller to get the analog data and which converts it to digital. Then we get the readings. So we have various sensors. We have the dust sensor, which is the PMS 503, which measures the particulate matter 2.5 microns, 1.0, and 10.0 microns. We also have a temperature and humidity sensor there. We have a pressure and altitude sensor. We also have a gas sensor, which measures the CO2, and ammonium coming from the sensors on here. So it could be in a way that with the API key, anyone can access the data. So we can create another app so that maybe people in that area can see in real time the air quality there. We also have some control parameters to control the LCD and also other stuff. So yeah, for controls to check on the map where the device is, and for the real-time data, the data is being stored on an IoT cloud. So anyone with the API key can access it. Okay, so we mainly made a comparative analysis between a sensor at the meteorological department here in KNUST, and it was from Purple Air, which was around $330. So yeah, around 3,500 Ghana cedis. But even with this prototype, it was just 2,500 just to build the prototype. So okay, so it can be used in homes, offices. We have quite a lot of cases where in KNUST exam halls we have students collapsing and other stuff, and maybe it might be from the particulate matter concentration around. It could be used in factories, hospitals, especially hospitals, to check the concentration of these gases and particulate matter to see if the patients are okay.
Reporter for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
More than 1,800 lives have been lost to road accidents this year. That's according to data from the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. Chief Executive Officer of Kolibu, Dr. Opoku Ariampoma, says 6 people die daily through road accidents and more than 20 people are rushed to the hospital every week after road crashes.
Dr. Ampoma, Kolibu CEO, joined the National Road Safety Authority, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, and Bloomberg Philanthropy to remember victims of road crashes. He said that despite the great effort by road safety institutions to reduce crashes, many lives are still being lost.
Between the National Road Safety Authority, DVLA, Motor Transport Division of the Police Service, the ambulance services, the other collaborative agencies, health assistance, and all stakeholders, there have been several educational campaigns. But however, we still have a high incidence of road traffic accidents in this country. And I believe that this calls for collective efforts. Over the course of this year, we have been seeing an average of between 20 to 40 road traffic accident victims every single week.
With 1,839 people dead as a result of road accidents, the Director for Planning and Programs at the National Road Safety Authority, Martin Owusu Afram, poured out his heart.
So can we stop preaching safety? No way. As you live here, please join the advocacy. Let's all be ambassadors and breathe safety on our roads. The unfortunate aspect of road traffic crashes is that the victims, most often than not, do not have access to quality health care. I witnessed one accident where the victims were arranged in a line on the floor whilst waiting to be taken care of. The hospital exhausted its consumables, and it took the intervention of well-wishers before they could attend to. Can we continue like this? Something must change. As part of the Remembrance Day today, the National Road Safety Authority, together with a number of stakeholders, will be donating our widow's mite to support a number of accident victims and to discharge a number of them also from the hospital.
Some road accident victims shared stories of how accidents affected them.
On the 5th of March, I went to some, that's where my mom is. I was about to get married, so we went for counseling. On our way back to Accra, we were involved in an accident. They took us to Nsawam Government Hospital, and the next day they took us to UGMC. I spent almost 3 months over there, and God being so good, they discharged me. I'm still in a healing process. Thank you.
The event organized was not only to remember road crash victims, but also to donate money to some victims at the Kolibu accident ward.
Now, to cap off the news, as Black Friday, the shopping bonanza approaches, ensuring your safety amidst the frenzy of deals and discounts has become paramount. Let's tell you how to shop smart and stay safe during this highly anticipated retail rush. Caleb Ziblim and Ethan Laye now report.
In today's interconnected world, accessing goods and services is just a click away. As we approach this year's end, the online shopping spree is on, and folks everywhere are scouting the web for those irresistible deals. Major retailers are dropping prices by up to 50% on various items, making it the perfect time to snag some steals. But in the midst of this shopping frenzy, scammers are also out in full force. You spot a great deal online, make the purchase, pay, but the package never arrives. This could mean you've fallen for one of the common scamming schemes.
So she paid and she never had or got the item, and the person changed the handle. You couldn't find the person.
Ruth's sister was a victim.
To the vendor, she was like, you pay before you deliver. My sister was like, oh, okay, no problem. So she paid and she never had or got the item, and the person changed the handle. You couldn't find the person, the contact wasn't going through, everything. full scam.
Others pay for something online and end up receiving either a counterfeit version or an entirely different item altogether. Kweku knows this all too well.
When it came, the sizes wasn't the actual sizes I ordered. Because online was you, if you don't make your ID, it was you. A bit child scam, a bit child scam. So, if you not be somebody I know, say make a risk, then buy from someone I don't know. There, boss, that one you know get me, Charlie. I be guy man, you want guy man.
Others would rather order products from international partners than order them locally for fear of being scammed.
It was okay. I think my first time was AliExpress. Maybe for Ghana, I've not tried Ghana online something before, but what I did was an international something, so it was okay. Yeah. The tracking was only, I think, safety something. I'll be to me. I said, maybe I'll go.
From January to October alone, more than 300 cases of online fraud involving almost 1 million Ghana cedis have been reported to the Cybersecurity Authority. With Black Friday starting November 24, these are expected to go up.
So if you look at last year, at around the end of October, we had around 159 cases of online fraud. But this year, we had 320. It's practically a double of that number.
Stephen Kujo is an officer with the Cybersecurity Authority. He elaborates on the common schemes used by fraudsters.
Very common one is the bit about seeing an advertisement of an online shop or a supposed online shop on platforms like Instagram or Facebook. And typically when you engage, they'll tell you, okay, this product that you want to buy costs so and so. Please send the payment to a certain Momo number. The payment is done, and then the delivery never happens. Another approach.
Well, that is how we cap off the news. As you shop, beware. Stay with us, though. We'll be back with a news review shortly. Welcome back on the AM show. Time now for us to dig into the papers that we have lined up for you this morning. And I'll be introducing to you my guest shortly. But right before that, let me tell you about Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They help us bring you the segment every day. And of course, they're offering you, if you're a man, prostate screening for free. If you're a woman, fertility screening for free. Whatever follows, yes, you might. It's your own health. It's your wealth. But if you'd like to locate Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, here's where you can find them. Here in Accra, they're at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. In Kumasi, Kronum Abuehia behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji Estate. There's Tema Community 22. There's Techiman Hanswa and Esiama Enzima. Their call lines, you can reach them on 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. And time for me to introduce our guest for today, Dr. Michael Ayamga. He's a development economist and he joins the conversation. Doc, a very good morning to you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you. I see you are representing, the Northern Belt with your smock and your hat and
yes.
everything. I hear when the hat is put in a certain direction, it has a meaning. When you tilt it forward, it has a meaning. Left, right, back, it has a meaning, or you just leave it. So, what are you communicating today with your hat?
No. I just put it on, no statement because where I'm coming from, if I make a statement, it would mean a stick. So.
Okay. I get your point. But there's also this bit, since we're talking about the Northern Belt, in Wanchiki, I'm sure you've heard about the disturbances in that part of the country. There's also been Kintampo, a little down south and all of that. But how do you react to these pockets of conflict every now and then. And people are armed. People are using all kinds of arms and all that. I don't know how you feel about those developments. What's your quick reaction?
It's a worrying trend. That is because of the increasing politicization of disagreements between various claimants of skins and stools across the country. It's not only peculiar to Northern Ghana. It is an issue now that has taken a different dimension, where anytime there's a claimant emerging, whether legitimately or not, there is some political interest in getting that fellow to stake a claim. So behind these blurred lines of divisions, even in one ethnic household, you have politicians deepening it with interest by supporting one party or the other. So they are not only ethnic disagreements as far as things go now, like they used to be. There's always some powerful force behind every disagreement, and that is why they have become very difficult to solve, to mediate in, and to get lasting solutions to them. So it's unfortunate. Sometimes I say you get to the community and there's nothing worth dying for. All you have is broken houses, mud and tight roofs. And when we should be concerned with providing education to our children, using the little resources that we have to ensure that we don't allow the generation following us to continue to wallow in poverty and we use these things to buy weaponry and ammunition, and then try to fight for this tool that virtually is worth nothing apart from the nostalgia and the fame that goes with it. So logically, it doesn't make sense. And I have been telling people left, right, and center that there are things that I'm not interested in. I come from a place where, if you look at my mother's side, things that are going on. I grew up from the other side, so both parties are known to me. Anytime the two of them fight, somebody close to dies. So it doesn't make sense. And I also blame our so-called intelligentsia living in the south of Ghana. I say this and I get into trouble, but they seem to only show up when there's a conflict, when there's a funeral, and when the people need them to make progress, they don't. We have so many people needing help. This dress I'm wearing, as I said the other time, was given to me by a medical doctor. I helped through school into university, and when he was going back to start serving, he bought me this dress. These are the kind of stories we should be known for, not the number of weapons we send back to the village or the pageantry we put up when somebody dies. And I think that we, the intelligentsia in northern Ghana and from these villages, we are letting our people down big time. And I can't state it more emphatic that we need your resources to grow people rather than your guns to kill our brothers. And that's what I will say right away. Yeah.
It's touching, the stories you've narrated to us, how you affected whichever side, gets into conflict in your area, and how the intelligentsia, as you put it, from the northern belt could do better. I'm worried about how, especially looking at how we border Burkina Faso and others, and the spillovers from time to time, all these incursions and the activities of insurgents, terrorists in the region. If we don't get a clamp on matters, we could be, laughing on the wrong ends of our mouths someday. But let's quickly get into the papers, and maybe if there are any other reactions, we'll get them at the tail end of the review. The Daily Graphic this morning says 11.6 billion Ghana cedis allocated to settle contractors' arrears. That's the Daily Graphic newspaper. There's also safety of pre-tertiary students, sexual harassment policy in full force. I'll be getting into this because in many places, not just institutions and all of that, and sometimes you see very concerning stuff. I was very disappointed. I'll not mention the name of the entity, but I've heard so many stories in the past where, someone goes to a certain place, they're applying for a certain job. This person is female. And at a point, I will not mention so that people will know the industry, but the person put it on Twitter. She was asked to turn around, stand up and turn around. so someone can examine certain vital statistics. The question is, for what reason? I've had people share with me how they've gone for interviews, for example, and their CV is concrete. They have the experience and everything, yet people are worried about their age. When ageism, sexism, and all of that should have been things of the past. But anyway, I'll get into that story. Ghana records trade surplus. We did this story yesterday. Energy transition, we won't stop oil exploitation. That's according to the minister. No one is saying stop, but even as we exploit the oil, what have been the benefits to the ordinary Ghanaian? Those are the things we should be looking at, not about we won't stop oil exploitation. And then on the back page, Chief Imam Peace Ambassador donate to dam spillage victims, and then Zebela Hospital cries for new NICU. And that's where I'm going to start. The neonatal intensive care unit of the Zebela Hospital in the Boku West District in the Upper East region is in dire need of support as it operates from a makeshift structure. This is what you were talking about, Doc. The unit, which was established in 2020 with support from the United Nations Children's Fund and other partners, is situated in a small cubicle within the hospital's maternity ward. The medical superintendent of the hospital, Dr. Abdul Rahman Ayobi, said the current state of the unit, with only one functional incubator, was a huge challenge to the management of the hospital, stressing that it did not have the capacity to provide the needed health services to preterm babies, either delivered at the facility or referred from other places. Then I'll come to the banner headline. The country has only started the exploitation of its petroleum resources and cannot sacrifice it midstream on the altar of energy transition, the Minister of Energy, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, has stated. He said although developed nations were pushing for energy transition, a changeover from the use of fossil oils that are identified to be polluting the environment to other sources such as solar, lithium, and nuclear, together known as cleaner fuels, countries such as Ghana had only started exploitation of their resources and would continue with such plans to spur industrialization and development. I agree with the minister to the extent that, look, you guys have polluted and built your countries, your economies. You cannot tell us now that we are hoping to industrialize, and we are nowhere near industrializing anyway. Planting for Food and Jobs, 1D1F, has achieved nothing close to what the projections were. Maybe if Nkrumah's factories had taken off from then, when we were producing Sanyo radios, producing our own boots for our services, producing jute and all of those other items, producing our own tomatoes here. Today we're exporting so many of those. We could have spoken about that. I agree with him to the extent that you can't come and tell us when we are now starting at the incubation level or even gestational level that we should stop when you have built your economies already on that. That is hypocrisy, and we have to tell the West and the East that in the face. But when it comes to the gains, like I said, all this oil that we've been exploiting, the black gold, since 2010, Dr. Ayamga, how has the ordinary Ghanaian gained from those? That is where the devil is. So at least I'll leave you with those two stories for now. The exploitation of oil and then the NICU at the Zebela Hospital. Quick thoughts on these?
Yes, I know Zebela very well. I think right through the days that I used to consult intensively for ActionAid and the NGOs in northern Ghana. One of the things you see there is a town that is emerging has a very strong historical link. It's a route between Boku and the capital of Bolgatanga. And it's quite a distance for it not to have a well-functioning ICU as far as health.
Neonatal ICU, actually, because the children are at risk.
You get in there and the place is prowling. There are sporadic development here and there. The assemblies try to do their best, but as you have a place where resources are constrained, and even if the place is prioritized, anytime I go there, they talk about the hospital, but hardly anything is done about the ICU and even some other infrastructure in the hospital. The problem has to do with the lack of a continuum in our development approaches. That every time there is development, the project is abandoned. Anytime a foundation is sunk and a different government comes, stalls because it was not the one that awarded the contract. So yes, there is a bit to go to government, and there's also a big chunk that should go to the citizenry. This is where I think that every person worth his salt who comes from that area should begin to support. If the Otufo is supporting Konfano Teaching Hospital,
right,
we should also support the upliftment of these small health facilities. And our chiefs should put behind it. They should make it a core issue. They should travel to Accra when they come and their issue is do something about our hospital, not maybe being interested in getting elevated to a certain level. I think that if we rally up behind it, make it a priority, just will listen. They go where the interests of the people are. Politicians respond to what the people talk about and what they are likely to do. They think that this is what is going to fetch them the vote, and they will do it. So we don't have to allow this isolated, let me say, discourses that does not actually rally into a strong force behind the issue. The chiefs, there are some politicians and opinion leaders need to put it at the front burner and push, and I'm sure that there will be some response. But it is not out of place for us, people like us and those living in Accra who come from that area, to make it a project, to take some of these, adopt some of these words here and there, and provide something. I, for example, have been very impressed with what is going on in Bolgatanga, the attempt by some citizens and people from the place to get dialysis machines to the regional hospital. And they started with small, young people. You think, okay, can make an impact. And they are getting a response. So I think that that active citizenship, good citizenship is also required. We need to prioritize the place. So that's what I'll say. On the issue of our oil.
And briefly on that, because there's a plethora of stories we have to get into on the oil.
Yes, I tend to agree with you that there is some tint of hypocrisy in the effort to get us to transition. But also, you can also make the argument that if they follow the path that is not sustainable, why follow it? Sometimes there's an advantage in being behind that. You get to avoid the mistakes those ahead of you make. So, yes, I agree that we cannot stop exploiting oil on the back of energy transition. We are hundreds of years behind in terms of development. We haven't actually contributed anything significant to emissions. And I think that even if we continue full swing, we still have a long way to go. But hey, here is the issue. We can't depend on oil forever. We have been getting oil revenue. We have not rightly invested these things into the various strategic aspects of the economy that will allow some complementarity and other sectors to grow. And we have rather gone to deplete the various funds that were set up with the oil resources. So I think that much as we have a right to exploit oil, and I don't think that the emphasis should be on weight transition, we should have a roadmap ourselves that tell us we cannot rely on oil forever, with or without climate change.
The point to be made there, and I think that's what you are re-echoing, is that while we also develop on the back of oil, we should also bear in mind that, look, for example, the West and the East, they are not facing the brunt of climate change. We are in Africa. Have you checked out the temperatures lately? Climate change is happening. So even as we exploit the oil, which like I have already given my blessing to that, if it counts, that, look, you can't be hypocritical and say that you developed on the back of oil and we shouldn't. Let's do that. But we should also, like you're saying, have plans in place, because we can't do this for too long. The climate change is impacting Africa way more than it is impacting, those in the temperate zones. Here in the tropics, it's quite a situation.
The pollution, the effect of climate change doesn't stay where the pollution emerged from. So we might be contributing very little to it, but we are impacted most because of our weak adaptive positions. So it's our job, and we need to be worried about it. But there should be a balance between exploiting oil for development and a concrete plan long-term towards reducing the dependence of our economy on oil.
All right, let's get into other stories. Safety of pre-tertiary students, sexual harassment policy in full force. Now, the GES has launched a sexual harassment awareness and prevention policy intended to make the school environment safe for students in pre-tertiary educational establishments. The policy contains guidelines on what constitutes sexual harassment, avenues for awareness creation for teachers and students, opportunities for training stakeholders on sexual harassment, and punitive regimes for culprits. Even in our schools, Doc, we have seen such egregious situations. I don't know, there was a headmaster who was dating one of his students some time back. They had a whatever video. Other things have come up in the past, and it just makes you concerned. We've also had the BBC's expose, in some parts of Africa, including Ghana, where some lecturers were supposedly taking advantage of, students. And it is common knowledge. For example, sometimes you would hear people tell you that, oh, this lecturer and that lecturer, and you have to do this and you have to do that. It's happening at the workplace as well. In many workplaces, it's happening. It's going on. I don't know, but I don't think we're taking this matter seriously in this country. And the politicians, too, from time to time, you'll hear some of them ensnared in some of these matters. What is your quick take in some 30 seconds? What do you think about this?
Yes, I think that is one of the oldest problems with African, especially men. And we tend to think that it's our right to exploit every lady that walks through our doors. And institutions are not doing enough to ensure that people who don't want to indulge in it do not. You see, whether you like it or not, there are others who take pride in doing it. They go to the school there for various reasons, start doing it. There are others who are compelled and coerced to do it unwillingly. And I think that the laws should bite strongly on this. When these things happen, you have backdoor channels, negotiations here and there, and the victims end up suffering, and then the perpetrators, nothing happens to them. So that is the issue. But every institution, first of all, must ensure that they have a sexual violence act rightly maybe disseminated, and then channels of reporting that are sometimes maybe discreet put in place. The problem sometimes is when you report, people know who has reported, and when someone is being investigated, people know who is being investigated. So for the fear of victimization, victims are silenced, and that is the key issue here. I am very happy with the way universities have gone by it. In our university here, our sexual harassment policy is in full swing, and we have channels for reporting. And you can go report without necessarily identifying yourself or closing. And that allows us to investigate the issues objectively and deal with the culprits. The problem also has to do with even corporate Ghana. There are attempts to employ the let's say the physical features of women for exploitation of men. You go to some companies and they want certain features because they think that you are going to be working with men and you should be beautiful. Nobody is interested in what is in your CV. They think that your physical appearance is what matters. And anyone you are trying to employ because of her physical appearance is a victim of the one going to employ her. So they know you are there because of the way you appear, and you are under pressure to constantly look beautiful. You are under pressure to attract customers with your appearance rather than your service. So is there in our banking sector, communication sector, what have you, what we call the corporate prostitution, if you may call it, it's rife in our society. So we don't need to pretend that it's not there.
Right.
Politicians in and out, they are traveling around the country. You see what they carry in their vehicles. Some call them laptops. Anytime we are traveling, you see them going with women. And when you hear them saying that, okay, where is your laptop? They are talking of a girlfriend. Side chickism and mistress issues are becoming normalized in society. So we cannot eat our cake and have it. If we want to say it's wrong, and society must frown on it. But we cannot begin promoting discourses of polygamy and the rest, and then expect that people shouldn't exploit women. My worry, especially, is in secondary schools, where people who are underage being forced into sexual
and that's exactly the point we're making from all angles. Hopefully we can have better and do better as far as protecting these young ones are concerned. I noticed a lot of you, I've been saying it over the last few days, Facebook seems to have changed its video options. So when you go to join news on Facebook, you now have to look for videos before you can go down and find the news review. It's not on the normal thread like you would have found it. All right, I see Adna Kofinu saying, good morning, Sir Benjamin. I've not been knighted yet, but thank you. Watching you live from Takrady. Keep up the good work. Well, it's good to know that you're watching, and thank you for doing it. There's also Maldina Cruz, who says you're watching from Indianapolis, Kumasi, Tanoso, Kesben Junction. Ayo. You have all kinds of places in Ghana. You have Israel, you have Russia, you have Hong Kong, and all of that. But let's quickly make tracks with these next stories and call it a review. The Ghanaian Times, government spends 40 million Ghana cedis on victims, additional funds to be released after needs assessment. That's the chief of staff, and it has to do with the victims of the dam spillage. But I'm asking, even as we look at these victims and all of that, vaccines, again, Doc, vaccines for our children. I'm not even talking COVID-19, for our children. Months ago, we had issues, many months ago. Now, in recent times, we've heard that there are issues again. Vaccines. I mean, when you run short of vaccines for children, then you get to the point where you realize something is fundamentally wrong with us as a country. But then, on the back page, I want to just highlight the story. Ghana faces hazardous chemical threats. That's according to the EPA. So what are they saying? Ghana faces a huge public health threat from hazardous chemicals in plastics if efforts are not strengthened to enforce waste management regulations. The national focal person on chemical and waste-related multilateral agreements with the Environmental Protection Agency, Dr. Sam Edukumi, says the chemicals from the tons of plastic generated in the country do not only pose risks to the environment, but to the human population. Speaking at the opening of a 3-day conference on sustainable waste management in Accra yesterday, he said, quote, recent studies show that about 13,000 hazardous chemicals are found in plastics alone, and 13 of these are of high concern because they are associated with endocrine disruptions, which interfere with the body's hormones, carcinogenicity, that is cancerous developments, which increases the incidence of cancer, reproductive toxicity, among others, that increasingly affects the ecology. We are being told that if we are not careful, very soon, when we go to fish, we'll get more plastic than fish. And yet, here we are. I'll add some thoughts from the Daily Guide newspaper before you come in. Accident claims 9 lives in Ho, and that's a very sad development. Baumia enskinned Unity chief, and I saw the vice president in one of the photos recently up north, lying down to the chief and all of that. Interesting what our politicians would do, isn't it, when it comes to securing power. Drop Nana, NDC caucus tells Mahama. We're talking about Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman. But will he or will he not? The former president has said that come next year, that is when he'll get a running mate. And then there's government reintroduces visa on arrival and coup plotters face judgment January 2024. Your quick take, and then we'll get ready to wrap.
Yes, I think I would want to talk about the issues of waste in the country now. I think that we have been reacting rather than being proactive, and if we need to put in policies that allow some cleaning to take place. Plastics are thrown all over the place because there is no incentive to package them. Our waste recycling approaches are completely wrong. Let me give you an example. I think sometime last year, my colleague and I were in Berlin, and we're living somewhere that we weren't quite familiar with the route. So I bought some water, and after drinking it, I used the bottle to mark where I'm supposed to turn so that I could get back to my place. By the time we're returning, the junkie have taken it because that is money. You pick these things and take them back to the company. You get either a reduction of what you're going to buy next, or you get some coins off. And I think that we need to begin to adopt these approaches. First of all, they need to brand the plastics so that we can identify those who make them and then punish them. The fact that every polythene bag is black, it doesn't matter who makes it, is a problem. So we have to start from actually identifying the various brands, compelling the producers to rightly brand their products and their plastic, the containers, so that if we find plastics in Accra, we know which company is responsible for them and we can ban them. Secondly, you see, we should put some margin on the bottle you buy, so that if you return it, some money is given back to you. Somebody will not just throw it away because it is an empty container. He's going to be seeing money in it. That is how some of these cities have managed to keep the huge amounts of waste they have generated. We cannot just sit down and sometimes when the waste is becoming a problematic issue, then we hit the headlines and we are talking. You look at whether it is the dam spillage, it is the shortage of vaccines, and it's somebody sleeping on the job. Vaccines for children is not something we should have in stock less than 1 year. So when we are a year away to experiencing shortages, that is when we should be dealing with it. By the time we are now dealing with shortages and we are talking about it, somebody ought to answer questions. I said the other time, what Dam has been told about 2 or 3 times. In the time that technology was not good as it is today, people got it right. Now, people have not been able to predict and to plan the spillage of the dam, and we are here talking about relief. That is poorly coordinated. Government is not actually trying to restore livelihood, let alone even begin to provide compensation, because the amount located is nothing to the destruction that has taken place. And it's because get away with some of these things. Nobody is answering. As we speak now, no one has resigned.
And answerability is the problem, and we don't crack the whip. Doc, unfortunately, we have to go now. But you've made very important points. And again, I'll reiterate what you said about those of northern extraction from Ghana, the intelligentsia, and how much more they can do to help the different communities, especially those in some factional turmoil. But Doc, we're grateful that you took the time to join us this morning for the discussion. It's always good to have you, Dr. Michael Ayamga. Thank you so much. He's an economist, a development economist to be specific, joining the conversation. Right before we go, Samuel Ame here. He always is around the Kukumlimle environment of our office. You are 88 years old today. Samuel Ame here of Mizpah Methodist New Boy Town. You're 88 today. We thank God for your life. We pray that you have many, many more years to see even more grandchildren and inspire some of us. I'd also like to extend congratulations to Professor John Japon for being named the African Research Universities Alliance next leader. And this is just to congratulate you on that appointment as Secretary General of the African Research Universities Alliance. Interestingly, he takes over from Professor Ernest Aite right there. And I'd also like to put this out there. A wonderful personality, a father figure, Professor Ivan Adai-Mensah, our former Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana. He has a book out. It's not been launched yet as far as I know, but it's titled My Life, A Historical Narrative. And that's one you should look forward to. These are the people we should be reading about. They've been there, done that, set the right example, and they're still sharing their story with us. I hope many more will share their stories. But that one, My Life, A Historical Narrative, it's an autobiography of Professor Ivan Adai-Mensah. Right before we go, this segment always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. And they are offering you prostate screening if you're a man for free, fertility screening if you're a woman also for free. Here's where you can reach them. Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard, that's in Accra. Kumasi, Chronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. Takrade Anaji Estate, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiaman Zama. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Sports is up next as we bring you the latest tidbits from the world of sports. Thank you for staying with us. We hit the big stories on the AM show. And of course, we do know that the National Peace Council has actually followed with some concern the unfortunate violent clashes in some parts of the country, on the back of which they have issued a statement. And they are calling for the Inspector General of Police, together with the security agencies, to do more to strengthen their investigations to ensure that we get to the very bottom of some of these developments. Well, joining us this morning, and he's been gracious enough to do so, though being very far away, he's joining the conversation virtually. Reverend Dr. Ernest Edudjemfi, Chairman of the National Peace Council. Rev, thank you so much for joining us this morning on the AM show. Doc, I think you would have to unmute. I think your connection is still muted.
Right.
Yes, I think I can hear you now. It's really good to have you join the conversation from where you are. Just to situate the conversation, this wouldn't be the first time that the National Peace Council has come out on the back of such happenings. But why this time? There have been other things that have happened where in recent times we've not heard the National Peace Council come out to issue a statement or talk with some level of urgency about it. Why now?
I think, thank you for your question. For the work of the council, we've been very active in all these areas. I think I've said on other platforms that currently we are dealing with about 300 chieftaincy, tribal, and land litigation issues across the country. Sometimes we act quietly, and so the public consistently accuses us that nothing is happening, even though we've been working. Now we think that there's a need to change our approach a little bit and sometimes be a little proactive in terms of some of the things that we're doing. In this particular case, all the cases that have been highlighted now, either at Kintampo in the Blue region, in Kwanta in the Oti region, and the Wanchiki in the northeast, the regional peace councils have been active in those areas, working constructively to help mitigate some of these things. But we must admit that sometimes the issue is above just the work of the council. Currently, we call on the IGP and the security services to intervene, and we are aware that there have been some interventions in some of those places. Calm has been restored in some places, but there's a need now for us to look at means to deal with the issues that are on hand. That is the reason why we're coming in now to make the intervention.
I see. And when you look at the different pockets of issues that we have had from Kintampo to Wanchiki and all of these developments, how do they strike you? Obviously, you have your finger on the pulse of what has been happening, but do these strike you as creating even more of an urgent situation that has to be nipped in the bud?
I think it's a very urgent situation. As I said, there are pockets of issues across the country. And while we're dealing with some of these things and trying to negotiate through them, other issues come up. And so it takes the attention of the ones we're working on. We focus on these things to bring stability. Then we have to go back and deal with some of these other issues. What we need now is collective effort of our whole country. We need the media to support us. We need the chieftaincy institution to support us, the Ministry of Religious Affairs. We need everybody to come on board to help us, because most of these issues are tribal conflicts. The interpretation of ancestral laws have not been done the way they ought to be done. So people are coming in, rewriting history, creating new boundaries. And these are critical issues confronting the country. And we have to collectively find a way to deal with them.
Now, the National Peace Council is doing its bit in this respect, but specifically referring to these issues, what is the footprint of the National Peace Council? I mean, when it comes to Wanchiki, for example, when it comes to Kintampo, what have you been doing in these places before and now on the back of these latest developments?
In the Kintampo issue, the more conflict, we've been there for at least the last 2-3 years, talking with people, trying to find a way out. The Regional Peace Council is actively working in there. But, you know, issues of religion, issues of tribe, issues of ethnicity are critical issues when it comes to peace building. Once you touch any of those areas, people react violently. And that is why we keep telling the country, don't get into religious conflict, don't get into tribal conflict, don't get into ethnic conflict. These are things that touches the soul and the lives of people. And so when you get into some of those areas, people react violently. And there's a need for us to keep drumming this hope that funding ethnicity, funding tribal conflict, funding religious conflicts will not help us as a people. And we need to do everything we can to stop these things as much as possible.
There are so many pockets of worrying developments. You can talk about Boku. You can talk about, in recent times, we had other skirmishes. The specific place in the Northern Belt doesn't come to mind. When I remember, I'll get to it, where, in fact, there was that reprisal from the military where national security officers were attacked, shot at even when they had gone into a police station. And then the security officials, specifically the military, went there and brutalized a number of them, whipping, beating, and all of that. I'll just try to recall the area. But there appears to be, in many pockets of not just the Northern Belt, different parts of the country, worrying trends of people being armed to the teeth in some instances, sometimes even spilling over into armed robbery, making our roads very unsafe when traveling certain portions, including the Kintampo stretch. When you look at all of these in the context of the wider problem of the sub-region, insurgency, terrorism, look at the countries surrounding us and look at the coup d'etats that have happened, how then do you situate this latest release from the Peace Council and the happenings within Ghana?
Thank you very much. I think the issue of proliferation of small arms is a very serious issue in our country. If you look at the number of arms that are in homes and in the hands of the youth, it is a very worrying situation. And that is what is spilling up into all of these things. And some of our research in the North, in the past, most young people would want to get a bicycle or motorbike, and they think that he's come to a certain level of status. Now it's not motorbikes, it's guns. So everybody is trying to buy a gun. And that is a very worrying situation for our country, with so many young people holding guns across the country. And that leads to these things. So with the least provocation, somebody picks up arms and starts shooting. So we have to do collectively everything we can to stop these things and bring them to some level of control as much as we can. And I think that everybody is needed as far as this whole project is concerned.
In terms of collaborative work, because you're calling on the Inspector General of Police, the police service, among others, to put their foot down, what exactly do you want to see done?
Well, I think that in terms of guns, there's a need to find some regulation. Are these guns registered? Where are they coming from? Who is selling them? And why is it so easy for people to lay hands on these things? These are issues that I believe the police must come in to help us. Maybe the immigration services may have to also up their game in terms of border controls and how they search through these things. Because there are too many of them coming in. And sometimes, especially in the Boku area, when you see the kind of arms that people are holding, it's frightening.
Sometimes they outgun our security services. The arms, the ammunition they wield is far more sophisticated than what our security services have at their disposal.
That's correct. And it's a very worrying situation. And I think we have to do everything we can to control this, because if we get to a certain point, and especially the young people get into the streets and start firing, it's going to be a very critical issue for the country. And we all have to do everything we can. First, educate the people. We've been having this conversation across the country on preventing violent extremism. We've done as much as we can. We're still doing them, even though resource to do some of these things sometimes a constraint for us. But I think that these are things that we have to keep pushing across the country to ensure that people understand that there's a need to talk and resolve problems instead of resorting to firearms.
Now, I mean, I spotted a video on one of my platforms recently where I do not think it's Ghana, but it could be along the border or something, a neighboring country, where someone was smuggling ammunition or arms in beans, so it's been put in a sack and everything. And you have AK-47s, you have the magazines, you have all of that in there. The sub-region is becoming a hotbed for terrorist activity. You've spoken about the police service and what you expect of them, but they also have their own resource challenges. I know just yesterday or so they put out another batch of cadets that are just, been recruited or graduated in recent times, and it created quite a bit of a standstill around that area. But the point I want to make is on the bit about small arms and light weapons. The commission in Ghana has over the years, even there was a point where they gave an amnesty that, look, if you have arms and all of that, bring them, let bygones be bygones. We will not prosecute, there'll be nothing of that sort. Very few people, from what I remember, took them in. But when you look at the statistics, the proliferation of small arms and light weapons, and especially in the northern belt, the predictions or statistics about those who likely have them, it is a great cause for concern. In that regard, what is the National Peace Council doing? How are you collaborating with the Small Arms and Light Weapons Commission to sanitize the system? Because like it or not, next year is an electoral year. Usually around this time, there will be a lot of skirmishes. We have banned these, what do you call them, vigilante groups, but under there, some of them are still extant. I mean, how are you thinking around all these issues?
In terms of the small arms, we are fortunate to have the chair of the Small Arms Commission being a member of the Peace Council board. And so that gives us access to a lot of information as to what is happening in those areas. We will keep on with our preventing violent extremism training. As I said, currently we are working with some of our partners to raise the needed funding to deal with some of these issues. Last Friday, we met with a team from the US and they talked to them about the support that we need to get some of these training programs and activities done. So we're doing the best we can to raise the resources we need to get our work done. But it's a very difficult situation for us because dealing with over 300 cases across the country and then leading to the next election, it becomes a very worrying situation. Whilst we're dealing with this, then you have the political issues coming in. That keeps its own distractions. And it's a very critical situation for us. And so we're calling on everybody to help us. And as much as possible, even community leaders who can talk to people should intervene in some of these cases. Sometimes we have assemblymen and others in those communities who can also talk to people to lay down their arms and talk and resolve issues. Festivals have become an issue. If you look at the Nkwanta case and some of these other, just a celebration of a festival becomes a problem. And these are things that I believe communities can sit and talk and resolve them. You have your festival this time, we'll have our festival this time. But why would we want to have festival, all of us, within the same time period? So these are critical issues confronting us. And we will keep on doing whatever we can with our training programs, with our intervention programs, empowering our regional councils as much as possible to get into some of those areas and do the best we can to minimize the conflicts.
Now, speaking of same, especially as the electoral time beckons, I mean, it started already. The two major political parties have their flag bearers, and they've already hit the ground running as far as campaigning. Dr. Bawumia is on his thank you tour. Former President Mahama has been touring the nation, talking about the plans he has for the country should he get re-elected. But have you started engaging the political parties yet? These are sparks that we're seeing already. Have you started engaging the political parties ahead of the next election, the electoral cycle?
There's a very serious engagement going on. In fact, we should have had a meeting last Monday, but it's been shifted to the 14th of December. I hope you recall that immediately after the election, the last election, we convened at Ada and brought together all the players, the election space, for a 4-day dialogue. And after that dialogue, there was a communique and a roadmap that was drawn. Some activities were assigned to various groups to deal with. We're calling another conference on the 14th of December, bring all these parties together and review the decisions that were made during the Adan conference, the activities that were assigned, where are we? And so all the political parties will be there, Peace Council will be there, the Electoral Commission, the representative from the Chief Justice, all of us are going to be there to talk about what we've done, the steps that we've taken, the way forward, and how we anticipate that the campaigning and election processes is going to look like in next year. So we are already working along with all the players to ensure that there's stability in the country. In terms of competition, we know sometimes it can be rough. What the Peace Council is insisting is that let's compete, but let us remember that we have to keep the peace of our country together.
In terms of your work dealing with the political parties, some people often say we go to sleep until another electoral cycle beckons. Is that really the case?
I think it's a wrong perception. This year, we've had quarterly meetings with the political parties. We've had 2 already, and the third one, we missed it because we couldn't find the funding. But we're doing this other one, bringing them all together again to discuss the issues. And I think that when we do these things, it helps. We had a dialogue again in Pram Pram between all the political parties and the security services. It was a very wonderful experience for us to be there for 3 days. The political parties talking to security services, how they feel about them, the security services talking to them about how they feel. And at the end of the day, the parties came to us and said, look, Chairman, can you organize this thing for all our regions for us? We're looking for the funding. If we can find it, we will do it across the regions to ensure that political parties and security services understand themselves and play the game the way it ought to be played and not run the country down.
Speaking of which, you just mentioned funding. What's the situation like for the National Peace Council? I know I may be digressing slightly, but I just would like to find out, because that will also determine whether you're able to do your work as you would want to do it, or whether there is any, there are any hurdles that impinge on your work. So what's the situation like? How do you even get funding? I'm sure some people will be curious about your work.
Well, it's the government that's the main financier of the council. They pay all our staff, excluding board members, because as we keep saying that board members are not on salary. They provide us some money for goods and services, which is inadequate in terms of our work. Now, the council's work is so fluid that we wish we could have been resourced like the security, what do we call it? National security, where as soon as something happens, you are ready to move. You look at the 3 cases that are on hand now. Immediately, we need resources to move across the country. And we need emergency funding. And that was why we set up the Peace Fund to help us to find the resource to do some of these things. But we haven't had the support that we need. Most of our support now in terms of our activities comes from donors. We have the U.S. Embassy, the Danish Embassy, the UNDP, who are main support, and all these groups coming in. Now we are trying to reach even to World Bank to see if we can find some support from there. So we need an emergency funding. Something happens in Kwanta. You say the Peace Council, immediately the Regional Peace Council is there. And sometimes if you're bringing board members together, they're coming from different places. You have to find a hotel for them. You provide accommodation. You provide transportation. You have to feed them within the... And negotiation in terms of conflict doesn't end in a day. You keep going to some of those places. So we want to appeal to the public, and especially to the business community, that let us support the Peace Fund, because it's in the realm of peace that you can run business. It's in the realm of peace that we can have our hospitals operating. In the realm of peace that our market women can go to the market. And everybody must help us to get things done the way it ought to be done. And so we appeal to the public, let's all contribute to the Peace Fund so that the National Peace Council can work the way we ought to work.
You
when
speak
we met
about
the U.S. delegation on Friday, we told them the same thing, that donors are not ready to give money for situations like that because they want to sponsor projects. Let's say we want to do a program for tertiary students, they'll give us money. Want to do something in the secondary school, they'll give us money. But if we talk about having money on hand that you can easily deploy, that becomes an issue. But those are the concerns that we do have now, that we need that emergency response fund to run the Peace Council so that as soon as something happens and you call on the Peace Council, immediately we can deploy our members to the situation to deal with that.
But would it not also be about convincing these bodies that whatever sums of money they're going to donate will actually be put into the specific use? I know many of these bodies, when they donate, the major concern is it going to be appropriated elsewhere, or is it going to be used specifically, crossing the T's and dotting the I's, where it's supposed to be used? Those are concerns, and I feel if you were able to convince them, they just might be ready to support, because peace in the South is already very, it's sitting on pins and needles right now. Don't you think that's an area maybe that has not been properly addressed?
Well, for donors, their concern is that they don't want to give money to a governmental institution, as it were, because they feel that once they give the money, the government will have control over the money.
Right.
So we've been convincing them that we have the Peace Fund, which is under our control, which does not go to the government. And I think when we met with the U.S. delegation, they understood that. It's a very critical situation for us to convince people that, look, we need these things. And like all of us are crying. I mean, if you go to Boku now, business is already closed. There's nothing activity happening there. The Kintampo situation, the Kwata situation, all these things are coming up. Virtually, you find businesses closed. And if you find a place like Kintampo hit seriously, that is the center of our country, where goods and services are coming from the north, moving from south to the north, are crossing to Burkina and all those places. So there's a need to bring stability to that belt to ensure that the country can find peace and do the things that we ought to do. In terms of managing our resources, for all our donors, we have accounted to them perfectly, and nobody has raised any query about any monies that have been given to the Peace Council. And we keep giving them that promise. And that is why we keep getting funding for some of the programs that we've been doing. And most of these programs we run on violent extremism, they've all been funded by donors from outside. But sometimes we think that it is not good enough for us as a country. Because once the project is done, you have to write a report. And to us, it gives an impression as if by the time we finish each project, we've given all the information about our country to donors, which to us is not the best. So there's a need for Ghanaians to see the need to support the National Peace Council to get our work done.
What has that drive been like as far as the Peace Council, the Peace Fund is concerned? How many Ghanaians or Ghanaian entities have contributed in the past? Can you give us an idea of the stark disparity, if there is, between what our foreign donors give and what we have given?
Well, if you compare to what the foreign donors have given, it's nothing to write home about, because we launched this about 2 years ago, and so far all the money we have is around 290,000 Ghana cedis, and that is not enough. Even for that, is
that both from corporate Ghana, individuals,
yes,
and goodwill?
Everybody. I mean, that's not enough. I mean, if we take up one activity, that money is gone. But we've just decided to put in an investment. We are just keeping it there for now because we want to add to it, so that once we start deploying, we know exactly what we are doing. So, I mean, if you look at some of the projects the donors gave, the violent extremism program that we run, the last election, we did this across all the constituencies. We're in every constituency. This election, we plan to do the same once we find the funding to do that. the training programs we've had for the tertiary institution leaders. We did one in Elmina, we did one in Kumasi, and all of these things have been funded by donors. And now we are in the secondary schools trying to teach them about violent extremism and how to control themselves, especially when students finish their exams and they are burning school cars and burning this and breaking all of those. There's a need for us to be in all these areas. But to do that, you need the funding to deploy easily.
Now, let's go back to the hardcore bits about Nkwanta, Kintampo, and Wanchiki. You look at these developments. You've said you're collaborating with the police. In fact, you are asking them, calling upon them to swiftly deal with these matters. Which other entities are you collaborating with in that respect? Because there are chieftaincy angles to this. There are traditional angles to some of what we're seeing. For example, in the case of the festival, and you can do this and you can't do that and all of that. So which other entities are you collaborating with on these or in these latest issues that have popped up to bring some peace to these areas?
Well, the first group we are dealing with is the regional security councils because they are on the ground and they are the first to deal with the situation to bring stability. Once there's stability, there's some level of security within the area, it makes our work easier. So then we can go in and start talking. But in the situation that we have on our hands now, we need the Land Commission, we need the Ministry for Religious and Chieftaincy Affairs to come along with us. And then we need also the judiciary to come along with us because some of these things, some of the cases have been in court for years and they are not resolved. So the people keep fighting. So there must be some resolution. And then also, maybe after these court cases, there might be some group probably to continue to talk to them and provide some ADR in between for people to understand themselves. Because they are talking about history. And many of us were not there when all these things started. And when people reconstruct history and they are not done properly, that is the mess in which we find ourselves now.
Now, many other thoughts come to mind, but I want to run this by you. Peace anywhere hinges on a number of factors. One thing that is crystal clear is that our leadership tends to focus on regime security or national security from the standpoint of militarization or military operations, security, intel, and all of that. But some crucial aspects of our security, in fact, probably the most crucial one now, is what many call human security. Are you providing the right environment for business to thrive? Are you providing the right environment for people to live out their lives in dignity, to have that enjoyability, if you like, of the life that they live? If you look at the economic situation, if you look at everything else that is happening in Ghana, then you would see a certain picture. My question then is, are you as a Peace Council also shifting, paying attention to the human security? Because once that goes out the window, chaos ensues. So while we take care of security a la Ghana Police Service and all of that, how about the things that people need? Because if someone has what he or she needs, the basics, they don't want to risk that to put the nation in turmoil. But when they don't have it, then they sometimes become, I don't know what word to use, but they want to risk it all because they think, after all, what? So how are you addressing that angle to this peace crisis we're facing?
Thank you. In the first place, I think if you look at the national security architecture now, the Peace Council was placed in the center of it because I think that the designers looked at the fact that it's not only hard security that can keep our country safe, but we need the soft security, and that is the role we play. The unfortunate thing is that the resourcing of the council to do the work hasn't been the way we had anticipated or the way it worked out. And that is what creates the difficulty that we're in. But again, we have also drawn the attention of government to especially the critical issue of youth employment. It's been on our lips. We've been talking about it all over. And I think everybody is aware of it, that if we don't deal with these issues, it's going to create a big problem for us. And sometimes we keep telling the youth that when politicians come to you and they are talking about vote for me and all. Ask simple questions. What are you going to do in terms of youth employment? What is your plan? We should ask those critical questions and determine what are they going to do to ensure that these things come to an end. But sometimes we just follow them and they keep talking and everybody is running around. At the end of the day, we don't know where we are. So dealing with human security is a very critical issue. I was doing one interview and someone asked me about all the people who are trying to go abroad now. And I keep telling them that, look, it's not that easy being abroad. We know the risk people are going through. We know the difficulties, and yet they keep doing it because they think that there's something else where that they can find. Everybody's trying to run away. So there's a need for us to deal with human security. How do we provide shelter? How do we provide food for our people? How do we provide the environment for our people to walk around freely and easily and to do what they ought to do? And I think that everybody in this country must come on board to help us to make this a reality.
I would like to find out then, going into 2024, which is an electoral year, you've already told me about some of what you've started doing as a peace council, but do you have a clear strategy in terms of other activities, if you could walk us through them ahead of election 2024 that you'll be bringing to bear to maintain the peace that we enjoy as a country?
Well, we will roll out the normal programs that we do beginning from January. We'll be doing our regional programs, district programs, and ensure that we educate people to maintain peace in the midst of the campaigning all around. Those things will continue to be done. We've done some training for the GPRG. We'll continue with that. We've done training for our fisher folks. We'll keep doing that. We've done training for the queen mothers and market women. We will keep doing some of these, and the same thing is what we've done for the youth. But generally for elections, we've always had early warning groups that start meeting from January. We meet every month, and that's a group that brings together key players within the political space to strategize as to how to handle the election. And then it culminates into the situation room during the week of the election. So all those plans are on the table, and beginning January, all these things will be rolled out.
In terms, though, of the MPC's work in this regard, you notice, for example, that many of our schools, from the tertiary level to even very basic levels, are being infiltrated, so to speak, with politics in different ways. Some of them very palpable, others not so clearly seen, but they are there. Are you tackling the school angle or the educational angle? Because it's what makes it interesting for me. You go to places like Cuba and there's, yes, some propaganda, but there's a certain mindset taught to children right from the start. I'm asking whether maybe we shouldn't be tackling the problem from that end very early so that these children get to know what is at stake rather than fall victim to NPP, NDC politics.
Yes, we've already done that. We started from last year. We did one training for the tertiary institution leaders. We brought them from all the schools. We had two programs, one for the South, one for the North. Currently, we are working in some of the secondary schools as well, teaching them what it means to stay away from violent extremism and all of that. We will keep doing these things because we think that if we're able to go down to the level of the youth, help them to understand these things, it will be very helpful to us. Even in our next engagement with the political parties, we are asking all of them to bring some of their youth leaders to these meetings because they must understand some of these. If you bring the top people, they come in and talk and leave, and then the young people don't even understand what is going on. We are going to have all these agitations. So we are now looking at how do we come down to the level of the young people, help them to understand what it means to keep the peace of our country. And we hope that we will make some progress in terms of this adventure.
Right. Finally, to cap off the conversation, and this is quite a digression, but I'd like you to find, with all the sentiment that has been shared on the National Cathedral, especially as you're talking about funding for the National Peace Council, that is not exactly coming through. What do you think of that project at this point in time in respect of our IMF program and the economic difficulties we're facing? We've had talk from some of the board members that we should go full steam ahead It's the support that doesn't come through. But what do you make of it? Before I let you bring through your final words on what we've been discussing.
Well, I think that that responsibility rests on the board. They've already told us that they will find the money to do it. If
They've
they
not
can
found
find
it.
the money, if they can find it from whichever source they can, probably saving the country from going back into our budget for some of these monies, they can go ahead and do their project. As far as I'm concerned, it adds to the infrastructure of our country if we can do it. It can add to tourism. It can raise funds for the country. I've been to the National Bible Museum in
But do we need it at a point in time like this with all the resources, the resource constraints we are facing? Right now, because we've not got the 600 million from the IMF, we're on the ropes again.
Now, what I said is if the board can find the money from wherever without, inflicting any pain on our budget, then that is their prerogative. Sometimes we may find donors who may be willing to do that if they can negotiate for some of those things. But that is the work they've been assigned to do. So we'll leave them to see what they can do. But they must also listen to the concerns of Ghanaians, and especially the period in which we are. But somebody told me that leaders are chosen to solve problems. And so they have a problem, then they must solve it. And it's for them to find the means to deal with that.
Your final words, Reverend Edu Gyamfi, on this, all these matters we've been discussing this morning, the way forward.
We've had 2 meetings the past week, one with a delegation from Sierra Leone, Gambia, and Zambia. Then we had another delegation from the US. In both meetings, the first delegation, who is an African delegation, told us that we are here to listen to you, to see what you are doing. If Ghana fails, Africa has failed. In our meeting with the US team, they said the same thing. We are here because we think that if Ghana fails, Africa has failed. Everybody is looking up to Ghana because they think that we provide stability and peace. And it's important for us as a country to see what others see about us, protect the peace we have, live like one people with one nation. And I think that that is my appeal to all Ghanaians. There is something good in our country, even though it is not perfect. Let us all work on it, work towards achieving the goals that we have set ourselves, live in peace with one another, and certainly we can enjoy what we have as a people.
Well, thank you very much, Reverend Edu Gyamfi, for joining the conversation this morning and for the fantastic work that you're doing. I think I'll also add my voice to yours for those who can, and all of us can, even in our smallest ways, make a donation to the kitty of the National Peace Fund. Let us do so. Just in passing, though, for those who may want to contribute, how can they do it?
Unfortunately, I don't have the information on hand because of where I am now.
Okay.
But I think I will ask Isaiah Secretary to pass on the information so that if you can put it out for us, we'll be grateful.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining the conversation. And again, we deeply appreciate it. We know how tight you are, but you made the time to interact with us this morning and wish you the very best in your work. That's Reverend Dr. Ernest Edu Gyamfi. He is chairman of the National Peace Council. Especially, it's been on the back, this conversation on the back of what has happened in Nkwanta, in the Oti region, Kintampo, in the Bono area, and of course, Wanchiki, I beg your pardon, in the Upper East region, and those developments there. We'll keep our finger on the pulse of these matters and bring you the latest on them on the show and in our subsequent bulletins. But the Sekondi Takoradi Metropolitan Assembly is on a drive to rid the metropolis of filth and open defecation. According to the Assembly, over 1,400 households in the STMA do not have toilet facilities, forcing 702 households to resort to open defecation. Now, you know the situation of that. How, as a country, we've tried to actually eradicate open defecation, its health implications, its implication on our country's kitty. Well, the Assembly is partnering Joy News on this campaign. We have more on that up next on the AM Show.
Apollonia City is not just an estate, it's a world-class city spanning 12 years and 5 countries on the African continent, boasting over 30,000 acres of development. In Ghana, its premium city sits on a 2,535 acres with about 4 residential properties and counting. Meet the company's marketing and communications manager, Yao Champoneje.
Apollonia City is a 2,325-acre mixed-use, master-planned, controlled, and service development by a company called Rendeavor that happens to be Africa's largest urban developer with about 30,000 acres of development in 5 countries: Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Zambia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, Apollonia City was developed with a concept that we call live, work, play. Live, work, play means that within the same facility, we've made provision for residential users, we've made provision for commercial and light industrial users, and we've also made provision for recreational users. This for us gives what we call a complete life, that people should be able to live in close proximity to the things that matter to them. Now, Apollonia City has been around since 2015. We have, like I said, 2,325 acres, and currently we have about 4 residential products here within Apollonia City. We are currently seated at the Oxford, Apollonia City's first residential unit. Now, if you may ask me about what makes Apollonia City unique from other projects, really it comes to what we call our master plan. Apollonia City's master plan was developed by a company called SOM, Skidmore, Owens and Merrill, which happens to be the same architectural firm that designed and built the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. Now, what that means is that every possible use that the residents here may possibly have has already been planned, anticipated, and provisions adequately made for all these units, so that the people that come into Apollonia City get true value for the money that they invest into our place. Currently, our products have been appreciating at about a rate of about 40% per annum to the Ghana cedi and 12% per annum to the US dollar. There is hardly any investment that comes close to this in Ghana. As I started by saying, among some of our residential units, we have the Oxford, where we currently are located. We have the Muse, which is a 4-bedroom unit built with a true communal sense, in such a way that residents can get to properly interact with each other in a master plan, in a controlled space where children can play with their parents knowing that they are actually safe. We also have Bijou Homes. Bijou Homes was our affordable housing projects that we developed a few years ago in partnership with Ghana Home Loans. Now, we have also, besides the residential units, we have lands for people who want to build to their taste. Currently, we have 2 forms of lands. We have our fully serviced lands that we call Nova Ridge, and we have our partially or semi-serviced lands that we call Walla Park. Our fully serviced lands come with access to electricity, water to your plot. It comes with access to tarred roads, solar-powered street lights, security, and they are all in gated communities. With our semi-service product, we bring the services to a point, Walla Park, and the owners of the plots will be responsible for tapping their power from there to their respective plots.
Apollonia City stands out in many aspects, as outlined by the master planners. Besides residential units, it also offers commercial property developments.
In last year, 2022, we launched our first commercial building. We call it Adumwa Place. Now, Adumwa Place is primed to be the ideal home for businesses in Accra. We are seeking, as a business, to decongest Accra. Accra is too crowded. There's too much chaos in Accra. We're saying that We have prime grade A space. We invested about $4.5 million into this this piece of infrastructure. Currently, we have C&J Medical Center operating from Adumwa Place so that all our residents have access to medical care here. We also have a pharmacy and a mini supermarket here at Apollonia City.
Apart from the serene environment and top-of-the-range masterpieces, what truly distinguishes Apollonia City from its competitors is its uninterrupted power supply system.
So besides our master plan, it's also the infrastructure, the quality of the infrastructure that we have. We spent $2.5 million on our own substation. That gives us multiple power lines to make Apollonia City one of the most power redundant enclaves within Accra. That is to say that when lights are out everywhere else, Apollonia City has the flexibility to choose between which power line to turn on so that there is consistent supply in Apollonia City. As part of our master plan, we made provision for like I mentioned, low density, medium density, high density residential spaces. We have mixed business and local business spaces. And for the first time, Apollonia City is actually offering 1,000 square meters space of mixed business and local business spaces. We also have a 200-acre industrial park with currently we have 7 companies operating from our industrial park. Like I mentioned, Apollonia City is one of the most power redundant enclaves in Accra, which is a great thing for businesses because they know that their business never stops.
For just a few hundreds of dollars, you can own a house here at Apollonia City.
So when it comes to our products, I mean, it's possible to acquire property within Apollonia City with as low as $9,807. That is because, like I mentioned, we do not just have finished homes, we also have lands. We have semi-service lands. Now, the best part of it is that we give up to a 3-year payment plan, which means that with as little as $311 a month, you can own property in the most premium place in Ghana today. I mean, for our 2-bedroom house, we start from around $95,000. We have our 4-bedroom unit, the Muse, that goes for $175,000. And we have our fully serviced lands that range from $20,000. The most important thing is that we are flexible in our payment plans. If you were to walk into Apollonia City is a place for people who appreciate peace of mind. If you stand up and cast your eyes towards the horizon, you see the beautiful Aburi ranges just gracing our skylines. As far as we are concerned, the view also forms an important part of property that you acquire here at Apollonia City. The weather is beautiful. The landscaping is perfect, delivering value, which is ultimately what we seek to provide to our customers.
Wondering how to invest in Apollonia City?
It's very simple. To reach Apollonia City, just dial 0275-577-577. I take it again, 0275-577-577, or send an email to sales@apollonia.com.gh. Again, sales@apollonia.com.gh. And I mean, we'll be there to reach you and interact with you. I usually like to end by saying this. According to the numbers, Ghana has a total land size of 59.8 million acres. I'd like to ask you, how much of Ghana do you own? I personally believe that it's not enough to just have a Ghana card or a passport. Make an effort to own a piece of Ghana, but not just any piece of Ghana, a premium piece of Ghana. And I assure you, it doesn't get more premium than at Apollonia City by Rendeavor.
The Joy News Habitat Fair is one way to connect with Apollonia City, as the company promises enticing packages for clients visiting its stands.
Habitat Fair is a platform that brings together a variety of service providers when it comes into the real estate space. What I actually liked was the fact that the quality of the people that pass through. Ultimately, what we are seeking is to, Apollonia City is interested in community. Ultimately, the number one thing for us is the people. And so we are always looking to have the opportunity to get in touch with people that are of like mind. And we believe that Habitat Fair is a place for us to meet these people. And that's why we are particularly excited about this year's edition of the Habitat Fair and are looking forward to interact with all the thousands of people that will walk through our store throughout the period of the fair. So Apollonia City this month of November is offering a special discount for people that come to us, people who sign their booking forms and will be willing to make a commitment. Like I mentioned, our products are up to a 3-year payment plan. And if you're willing to commit, Apollonia City is willing to give you a 5% discount only for this period of the Habitat Fair during the month of November. We are so excited. We are looking forward to see you and can't wait to interact with you.
Welcome back on the AM show. Now, the Sekondi Takoradi Metropolitan Assembly is on a drive to rid the metropolis of filth and open defecation. According to the Assembly, over 1,400 households in the STMA do not have toilet facilities, forcing 702 households to resort to open defecation. Now, the Assembly is partnering Joy News on this campaign, and that's the Clean Ghana campaign. Now, joining us, the MCE for the STMA, in the person of Abdul Mumin Issa, joins the conversation. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us on the AM show. You may have to unmute, sir. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to try to reach Mr. Issa on the phone lines, but as we've situated the conversation, a number of those in that community or in those areas, Sekondi, Takoradi, without proper toilet facilities, which brings to mind, interestingly, the promises that were made over the years about every household having toilet facilities, among others, here, not only here in the Greater Accra region, but in other parts of the country, and even the supposed enforcement that was to happen. It appears that has not really happened. We've grappled over the years with this issue of toilet facilities, or the absence of them, and the toll it takes on our country, because that comes with its own health costs, health implications, and we spend millions every year on this menace. But how about resolving the problems? Well, we'll be getting Mr. Issa on the phone lines shortly, even as we partner the STMA to actually ensure that this campaign takes off and that the right mechanisms are put in place. Let's see, those are some images in of course, our archives from the files as far as our Clean Ghana campaign is concerned. And this time we're tackling specifically open defecation in the Sekondi Takoradi metropolitan area. Let's try to see whether we can get Mr. Issa back on the line. Abdul Mumin Issa, MCE, Sekondi Takoradi Metropolitan Assembly. Good morning, sir.
Fine morning.
It's good to have you join the conversation this morning. We are collaborating with you on the Joy Clean Ghana campaign, Joy News on this campaign. I'd like to find out from you, how serious is the situation of open defecation in Sekondi Takoradi?
Well, Sekondi Takoradi, let me start by greeting your viewers and your listeners all across the nation and the world. Open defecation along the coast of Ghana is no more a secret. People living along the coast prefer to use the beaches as their defecating places, as they claim it gives them a better freshness compared to the public toilet that they may have to use. And it is a serious problem for us in the metropolis of Sekondi Takoradi. And that is why we are collaborating with Joy News, Joy FM, or Joy TV to name and shame those who are perpetrators of this act. Not only to name and shame, but also to prosecute them at the law courts and give them better education as to how they can apply to SCMA to have access to household toilets in their homes, because SCMA, in collaboration with the city of Palermo, which we are having a sister city relationship with, and through the European Union, has funded us, and as part of our program or our proposal, we are constructing 500 household toilets for people living along the coast of Sekondi Takoradi. And therefore, no one has any reason to not applying for this or registering for this free household toilet, which we are going to build. We are building about 500 in number, and I believe this is enough for people living along the coast of Sekondi Takoradi.
Now, you talk of these 500 that you were building. What are the timelines? When has construction started? When is construction due to start, if not? And when are you hoping to actually put all of these up? By what time?
Registration is ongoing, and we are looking at from December 1st, construction is going to commence. And we believe, from what we are gathering, we believe by March next year, we should be able to complete all these 500 household toilets.
By March next year, these 500 toilets should be available. And you say the registration process is going on. But tell me, I just did the simple math. 702 households, even if you assume there are 5 people in every household, and in some there may be many more, in others there may be fewer numbers. But let's even use the basic number of 5. Multiplied by the 702, you get 3,510. It means some 4,000 people, striking the average, could be engaging in open defecation in the metropolis. This is a huge number if you look at what we have to grapple with. But my concern, these households should not, in the first place, be able to be there, be put up, or to remain standing without toilet facilities. What has the Assembly done about that in the past?
In the past, we had a similar arrangement through interventions from UUSP 1 and 2, of which some of these interventions were made. But many of these houses along the coast were built pre-colonial time. And, people were not thinking of putting toilets in their houses, but rather to have more rooms for rentals. So, and with the construction of public toilets, that also gave people the largest to sort of not putting up household toilets in their homes. But currently, I do not think anybody will put up in this 21st century, anybody will put up a house without, having a number of toilets in the household.
Is the Assembly ensuring that? You say you do not think, but is the STMA ensuring that? Because we have seen, even here in Accra, instances where people are putting up facilities without toilets.
Before we give approval to your building permit, we ensure all these are embedded in your building permit, in your building plan.
So you ensure it's in the building plan, but do you check on execution to ensure that it is actually on the ground?
After the construction of your house, you need habitation permit. You need a habitation permit. And before we issue a habitation permit to you, we need to come to your house, inspect that whatever you gave us that you were going to do has been adhered to before we issue you with a habitation permit.
So now that you have all these households in there, and of course you say that sanctions should kick in, are there going to be any punitive measures for these households without toilets?
Definitely. We have made it clear to them, if you do not subscribe to what we are bringing on board, and after we are done with this exercise, this project, we'll go around to check individual households who still do not have toilets in their homes, and sanctions will be given to them.
What sort of sanctions are we looking at?
Well, we will prosecute you in the law court, and again, we will give you a timeline of which you have to put up a toilet on your own. Failure to do that will put you before the law court again for the court to deal with you.
And so moving forward, now that you're collaborating with Joy News on this Clean Ghana campaign, what are you hoping to achieve in the short to medium term?
Well, let me start by the shortest time that, Secondly, Takoradi has become an avenue for people to spend Christmas in the metropolis. And in a short time, we want to ensure there is total sanity in the system. Each and everyone has to clean his surroundings, of which we are going to send a task force made up of the police, our Metro Guards, Joy News reporters, and local radio reporters to go round. This will be done unannounced, and anyone who will be found culpable not only will be named and shamed, but will be prosecuted as well.
So in terms of the scope of work, are you going to go through major portions or all of the metropolis on this campaign?
It is all of the metropolis. It's all of the metropolis this campaign is going to go on.
Any final words, sir?
Well, my final words to especially our traders in and around the market circle. There is a new habit that has begun to spring up.
Okay.
And, our unfortunate brothers who have turned junkies in their bid to satisfy their drug intake moves around the market, collect refuse from the market women and store shop operators. Then in the end, they go and dump them at areas that are not supposed to be, sort of dump these refuse.
Right.
So I am sending this message to our traders in and around the market circle that they should desist from giving their refuse to these junkies, but rather you can hire the service of this Bola taxis, the Aboboya riders, give them a token, then at least they will sort of send them to the proper dumping site. But not.
But even they sometimes dump them somewhere along the route.
Well, we are in close check on those people. We see some of them being recalcitrant, but at least many of them send them to the right dumping site.
Thank you very much, Mr. Issa, for joining this conversation and, of course, for taking that step to collaborate with Joy News on this Clean Ghana campaign. Abdul Mumin Issa is MCE for the 2nd D Takoradi Metropolitan Assembly. They are battling open defecation with some 702 households without any form of toilet facilities. This has been our conversation on that beat. We'll be right back with more.
Hello there, hope you're doing great. I'm Bernice Abubaidunanza and I'm excited to come your way this morning on the AM show. Guess what? A group of 30 talented Ghanaian children is set to showcase their mental prowess on the international stage as they gear up for the UC Mass competition in Malaysia. Now, these young minds, armed with exceptional skills in mental arithmetic, will be representing Ghana with pride. And this morning, I am pleased to welcome Girish Gubani. He's Managing Director of the Moria Education. Great to have you here, sir. And then Thomas Kujo Mensa Ababu. He's at the Hans Future Leaders Integrated School, and he's one of the 30 who will be representing Ghana. So I'll be interacting with the two of them. And for many of you who may have seen young people, in the UC Mass competition, you may have questions about it. You're wondering, what's the purpose? Why is it necessary? Mr. Gubani will be answering all those questions. And it's a pleasure to have you here, sir. Thomas.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for joining me, Thomas. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing great.
All right. So how does it feel to be representing Ghana in Malaysia in a few days, sir?
Yes, I'm feeling so good.
All right. Okay. I'll come back to you to ask you about your experience with the UC Mass, but let me find out from you first. Growing up as a Ghanaian child, we used to have what we call mental. And it was usually done in the mornings when you come into the class, and then you're asked to, it was especially on multiplication, not additions. And so your teacher would ask you random questions of any, times table. If it's a 5 times table, they ask you, and if you didn't answer, you get some few lashes. And we condemned that because we thought it didn't allow children to appreciate the art of learning. It instilled a lot of fear in them. There are many people who think that the UC Mass is almost like that, just that you don't beat the kids, but it's more of your routine learning. Why do you think that UC Mass system of, getting children to calculate so fast is important to their development?
Okay, first of all, I would say that the mental, what we used to do in Ghana, was also a brain exercise because it was done early morning. But the problem was the punishment, the scariness the children went through to answer that question would put a fear about answering that. But at UC Mass, we have a different methodology. First, we let them use a tool, which we call UC tool, which they manipulate beads and learn how to calculate. And later on, they imagine these beads in their brain, which is a right brain activity, okay? And they use numbers to answer, which is a left brain activity. So by doing this regularly, they're exercising their brain and they're increasing their brain capacity. And our methodology is to encourage children through competitions and encouragement, okay? So our methodology also plays a lot, and there are a group of children in each class. So our competitions and encouragement starts from the classroom itself, where children are grouped to compete with each other. After that, they compete in the regional level, national level, and now international level. So there are various forms of competitions which we hold in a year, and this is to encourage children to compete and improve.
Interesting. And you talk about the brain development. I am particularly excited about that. So beyond the ability to calculate, what does this development of the left and right side of the brain do to the other aspects of their lives?
Perfect.
Right.
You see, once your brain is developed, okay, when your capacity of brain is able to think fast, is able to do multitasking, you're confident, your brain capacity has increased, this brain of yours goes everywhere. When you go to your classroom, you apply this developed brain or expanded capacity in your academics and shows improvement in academics. Okay, when you take it, you go to a church, you're taking this developed brain. You go to play football or sports, you're taking your developed brain. You're at a social event, your brain is developed. So there are instances where school heads have told us that, look, my child was already number one in the class, okay? So I'm not able to judge how UC Mass is helping, okay?
Yeah.
So after some time, the same person was a head of a school, came back to tell me that, Girish, I have noticed something very interesting. My child was not able to remember verses in the church before. Okay. But taking through the UC Mass, now I see the difference in my child that he's able to remember the whole verse.
Right.
So I don't know exactly what it, I've never been to a church, so I would not know. But
so it's memory verses.
Yes, so it improved the memory of the child.
Yeah.
So if the child is good, you will also see the child to be more developed. Okay, and if the child is not doing so well in academics also, you see some development.
So it's not just about the calculations, it's about brain development, and how that child is able to extend what they've gained through UC Mass in other aspects of their lives. I'll come back to you. But you, Thomas, how old are you?
9 years old.
9? When did you start UC Mass?
Yes, when I was 5 years old.
Hey, 5? That's very early. Okay, let's do a test. I need a calculator because I didn't do UC Mass, so I'm just going to throw a challenge to you. I don't know what numbers I'm going to be mentioning. Okay, so let's do it this way, right? Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Do you need time or I can just start? Okay, I can just start. Okay. 50 plus 100 plus 100 plus 20 plus 30 plus 50 plus 20 plus 15 plus 10 plus 15 plus 5. How much is that?
415.
415. He's right. Yay! Well done. That was smart. Please, am I too old to do UC Mass?
Actually, when I saw this program in Malaysia, it was introduced by my wife, who came to Ghana after I was here, and she told me this is a program, and I had the same reaction. Am I too old?
Yeah, because I'm just thinking about how I can develop my brain.
Yes, if we had the opportunity, we could have done so much better, with the kind of concentration and confidence. Thomas is facing the camera for the first time in his life, and you can see how confident he is. So if we had this early, we could have done much more than what we are. But definitely our brains are more developed now. So it's a chance for our future generation, children who are in the school. I would request parents not to feel the same way what we feel today, and they should enroll in UC Mass. We are everywhere in Ghana. So get in touch with us. We'll direct you which school to enroll on and which center.
That's fantastic. So there's a confession from the person who was calculating for me. He wasn't able to punch as fast because I was mentioning the numbers very fast, but his brain is so sharp and developed. Okay, so Thomas, you started at 5 years. You're 9 years now. You're in class 5, 4?
Class 5.
You're in primary 5. Okay.
Yes.
So how do you think UC Mass is helping you?
Please, it have boost my confidence level, and I have achieved overall academic excellence.
Wow, tell me about it. He's such a smart boy, isn't he? Interesting. So there are a lot of your friends who will be asking you, is it difficult when you start? Is it difficult? Did you ever feel like you can't do it? Tell us about how you started and what you feel about the whole UC Mass program.
For me, my brother started.
Okay.
So I was interested in it. So I joined them. My parents made me join them.
Wow. So you saw your big brothers doing it, and then because you saw them doing it, you got interested in doing it. Right. Okay. But was it difficult when you started at 5?
No, please.
Wow. So tell me what you were imagining when I was mentioning the numbers.
Yes, I was imagining the UC2.
Okay, which is the rectangular one with the beads on it.
Yes,
okay, so they teach you how to, so is it coded? Because I'm just curious about it.
It's a simple equipment, UC tool with beads, and each bead has a number.
Okay.
So when they manipulate the bead, they're actually manipulating numbers.
Okay.
Okay, after some time, the tool itself is not relevant. What is relevant is the methodology and how we encourage children to develop that. Okay, so the tool is taken away, and now we work on the brain. We exercise the brain on daily basis.
Okay.
So a child who's able to exercise the brain on daily basis, practice just 15 minutes.
Just 15 minutes in a day?
Every day, 15 minutes.
That's enough.
Is enough. In 3 years or 4 years, your child will be transformed.
Tell us how we can enroll in this program. I know that some schools have UC Mass clubs, but others don't. So how do we contact you? Do you offer out of school services?
Yes.
Yeah, just tell us about it.
Yes, we run 2 streams. One, we are offering in schools across Ghana. We have more than 500 schools who have implemented UC Mass as part of the curriculum. You can take your child to that school, okay? Make sure it is UC Mass. Check whether it is genuine UC Mass the school is doing as part of the curriculum. Second option is we run centers. We have about more than 40 centers in Accra where you can take part. And we have centers in other cities also where we run the program on Saturdays.
Okay.
So if your school of your choice is not doing UC Mass, you can take your child on a Saturday to the learning center, and your child can.
How do I know the closest learning center to me?
You can call us. You can follow us on social media. UC Mass West Africa is our social media handle, and
UC Mass West Africa.
Yes.
Okay.
UC Mass West Africa, and at the same time, you can call us on 0245 211 395. 0245 211 395 to get more details about the schools who are doing UC Mass, at the same time where our centers are. So we can give you all this information, and you can take the advantage. As you know, we don't want our children to be left out in future and say that, oh, if I had UC Mass earlier, in my early days, I could have done
like how I feel now.
Yes, even me, I feel the same.
All right, so they'll be going to Malaysia. Tell us more about that. It's an international competition. So Thomas and his friends will be representing Ghana. We'll be rooting for you, okay? I like the way you're confident, you are expressive. So just go out there and make Ghana proud, okay? Know that we are all supporting you, we are all behind you, we'll be cheering you, even if you can't see us, right? Okay, so tell us how it will happen in Malaysia, what the processes will be, and eventually who comes up top, what the prize packages are.
Okay, we are leaving on 29th of November.
Okay.
We go to Malaysia, we rest for 1 or 2 days and practice. The competition is held on 3rd of December and the awards will be given on 4th. So there are more than 3,000 children around the world. From Ghana, we have 30 children and some parents joining us. We have a total about 45, a group of 45 going. And from Côte d'Ivoire, I know is about 37. And other countries, I'm aware, some are bringing 50, some are bringing 100. So all these students come together in Malaysia and they will compete amongst each other for the international awards. Wow. So this is how it is being done this year. And next year it's going to be in India. The last time we were there in India, there were 11,500 students around the world competing. And it happens only in one day. They all ride there, the competition is done one day, and by next day we have all the awards.
All right, so is it like we see on the TV, because I know you also have a UCMAS show?
Yes, please.
So is it like that? Do you have the children, being asked to calculate? Is it writ? Is it
it's a visual.
So just tell us how the competition.
Okay, there are two types of competition. Okay. We test children on all the aspects of concepts we teach them.
Okay.
One is visual competition. What is happening on the international level is they are given 150 to 200 sums, depend on each level. Minimum is 150 questions to be solved in 8 minutes. The child who is able to compete all the numbers in 8 minutes, okay, does the paper and is eligible for the award. Okay. For every level. On higher levels, okay, children are able to do 200 sums in 8 minutes. So this is a visual competition, one part. The other competitions we do on international level is listening. Listening competition is what you tried just now, where you give out numbers and children say out and give out the answers either by verbally or they write and show. So that is second type of competition. The third type of competition is flashcards, okay, where numbers are flashed, is a visual competition, but the numbers are flashed on the screen and children are supposed to calculate and give out the answer again by writing. So there are three types of competitions which will be done on international level, and the most prominent one and the most challenging one is the visual. So most of the students compete on that one. The visual competition.
So tell us how you came to select the 30. Did you also do a local competition?
Yes, we do local competitions. Children who are doing very well, we encourage parents to support their children so that they can take part in the competition. It's actually open for all parents, okay, wherever you are, to give the exposure to your child, okay, to able to compete. What we have seen in the past is when children are able to go to international competition and they compete with their peers, not only from Ghana, but from other African, Asian, European, American, Australia, all of them, they come back so confident.
Yeah.
You see, when they do this competition and they win, the kind of confidence they have coming back to Ghana in their classroom, that look, I went to compete with so many people in the world and I was able to get champion or first ranking or second ranking, and that changes the life of the child. Is so confident and is doing so well in the classroom, and it also encourages other children. So definitely next year we are going to India, and I will encourage most parents, whoever is taking part of UCMAS, to please enroll your children. It's a lifetime exposure, okay? They go as a group, they compete as an individual, and they win for the whole nation.
Right.
So that is something we want to give experience to every child, and we hope that next year we'll have more children competing for UCMAS in India.
All right. Thank you so much for what you're doing for Ghanaian children. And thank you, Thomas. We wish you all the best. Remember what I said, right? We are all supporting you, right? Is there anything you'd like to say to your friends, young friends, on why they should do UCMAS?
Yes, I'll advise my peers that they should force and do the use must roll, and they'll become bigger, like how I am.
Yeah, definitely. You're coming back a champion. I'll be looking out for you. Thank you so much. That's Girish Grubani. He's Managing Director of Moya Education Limited, and they help facilitate the whole UC Mass program in Ghana. And 30 of our young boys and girls are participating in the international competition in Malaysia, which will be on the 3rd of December. So we'll be looking out on the social media pages and updating you on how it goes. And you just heard from Thomas Kujo Mensah Bibio. He's at Hans Future Leaders Integrated School, and he's one of the 30 who will be representing Ghana. He's just 9 years old, but so confident. Well, we'll take a quick breather now. When we come back, I'll be talking to you about Grazio Nails and Locks Enterprise. Do stay for more. Thank you so much for staying here on the AM show. Remember, I told you I'll be speaking to you about Grazio Nails and Locks Enterprise. In this day and age where security is one of the most important things we look out for, it's important that you get top quality security locks, padlocks and steel doors for your homes, shops, offices, churches, anywhere you need security. And we know that Grazio Nails and Locks is the place to go. This morning I've been joined by the company's MD, Dennis Mensah. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yeah. Tell us more about Grazio Nails and what you offer.
Good morning to our viewers, and thank you for having me. So we are Grazio Nails and Locks Enterprise. We have been in the business of door locks, steel doors, and door lock accessories for the past 25 years.
In Ghana?
In Ghana, yes. Supplying the people of Ghana with good quality door locks and its accessories, as well as steel doors. Yes, so we have different types of locks. We have project locks for different projects. So if you are putting up an apartment and you contact us, we will give you locks that will suit your apartment, project. We have school project locks. We have hospital project locks, churches, as you mentioned earlier, as well as other different kinds of door locks. In the area of security padlocks, we have a wide range of them. We have low security, medium security, high security. So if I were traveling somewhere and I pick my traveling bag and I want a padlock to lock it, I don't necessarily have to pick a high security padlocks or a medium security padlocks. The same way, if I want to lock my poly tank, or I want to lock my, let's say, gen set,
right,
I don't need a very high security padlock. But if I want to secure my warehouse, my garage, my burglar-proof door at home, then I have to go in for a high security padlock, which I have some of them on display. I'll get to that. And so basically, we sell and we give advisory services to our clients.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So key advice we give to our clients is that you don't have to put your security decisions in the hands of the carpenter or whoever. You have to take charge of those because they are key.
That's important, yeah? I think many of us rely on our artisans to, about a padlock, brah. When you're coming, just get me a padlock on your way back. But I see here that you have Solex top security locks. So are these normal door locks or they are also infused with some security features?
Okay, thank you very much. So at Grazio Nails and Locks, we have a wide variety of world-leading brands. As you rightly mentioned, we have Solex, we have Grazio, we have Marco, we have Stanley, Yale, etc., etc. And so what we have here, they are regular, right, but not the regular ones on the market. Okay, so this is a stainless steel handle door lock, suitable for your internal doors.
Okay.
So internal doors, be it the bedroom for the kids, the kitchen, the washroom especially. Many a times people disregard or they want to buy a low quality lock for the washrooms and all that. But interestingly, that is the lock that a lot of pressure is exerted on. Aside pressure, you go to the washroom, you wash your hands, and your hands might still be wet. You come and you swing. If it's not made of the correct materials, rusting will set in. And so it comes with a brass cylinder and 5 computer keys. Computer keys are not easily duplicatable.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So these are them. So for the internal door locks, the security features are not so much. We dwell on the safety and the longevity
Yeah,
of
makes
it.
sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is also an internal door lock. It does pretty much the same thing this one does, but this one is a little bit of, it comes with a little bit of sophistication.
Okay.
So it's also suitable for the kitchen for our ladies, and it suitable for the washroom. So if you go into the washroom, this little lever here can lock and unlock. Yes.
Okay.
So if you want to keep the key away from the little ones, you can put the key down. When you are in, you lock. When you want to come out, then you unlock. Stainless steel handle, that is most important, so that you can use it for generations.
Interesting. There's a lot to share. I mean, these are just samples you're sharing with us here. So you were talking about some locks you have that are high security locks. Tell us more about how secure these high security locks are.
Okay, very well. So at Grazio Nails and Locks, aside the door locks, I mentioned that we sell padlocks too. Padlocks form a very essential part of our Ghanaian life because you might either be locking your chop box, you might either be locking your garage, your gate, etc., etc. So first off, if you are locking your gate or a shop gate or a warehouse gate, whatever it may be, it will face the weather. And so you have to make sure you have the right materials. Is it full brass? Is it brass, as I have here, is brass, and it's also plated with chrome. So like a reinforcement. We have solid brass in there. Then we have a chrome plate, which gives it double, sort of protection. Now, if you come to the shackle is hardened steel shackle, meaning that it cannot be cut. Cannot be cut with a hacksaw. It cannot be cut with, they call this thing the cutter. It cannot be cut with either of them. It's a bit scientific. They call something hacksaw cutting rate, HCR. So the range of this one is not within the hacksaw range. So it is important to note, if we say a lock cannot be cut open or cannot, be broken, then it is like every profession or every institution has its language.
Okay.
Once it was made by a human being, it means that it can be broken by a human being. But the time it will take you to do that. So if we say it cannot be cut, it doesn't mean that it cannot be cut, but if you want to cut, then you might end up changing about 20 to 30 hacksaw blades. And it will take a very long time, by which time, help would have come.
Okay.
So apart from that, it is bulletproof. So this one has undergone US military testing from the factory. So you can see it, the bullet holes. This is specifically M16 rifle that was used to test this one. So the padlock has passed US military testing. And what is making it withstand the gunshot, even though a bit destroyed, is because of the double ball locking system that it has. So the two balls, which are made of solid brass, they are underneath, both shackles. And so even if one side is open, as it is with the ordinary padlocks on the market.
Okay, so is that what we are seeing on our screen?
Yes, that is the cross-section that we can see on the screen. Okay. So you have the hardened steel shackle, and you have the double ball in there, and you have the disc mechanism cylinder. And it also has an anti-drill plate. From secondary school, we learned a few tips about how to break padlocks. But those are for low security padlocks, not these ones.
Right.
Yes.
All right, interesting. So there's a lot more you can get from Grazio Nails and Locks Enterprise. And You have just detailed to us why we should choose you. You have, one of the best on the market, obviously tested by U.S. military. That's quite a standard to have. But how do we reach you? How do we see more samples of what you have? We've also seen security doors and all that.
Okay, so if you want to reach Grazio Nails and Locks, first off, we are at the Habitat Fair, the ongoing Habitat Fair. So it's going on today, tomorrow, and it's ending on Sunday. So you have a very good opportunity to catch us at the fair, where we have trained personnel to take their time to explain all the good things that we have for you. Now, we just welcome you. Come. Just come and window shop. We'll take our time to explain. If it means if we have to give you samples to go and study, if we have to come over to your house to take measurements for our steel doors, we do all of that for our cherished clients. And we are also on www.grazionailsandlocks.com. www.grazionailsandlocks.com. So if you get on our website, you get all the relevant details that you will need to contact us. And our shop is at Accra Central.
Okay.
The UTC area, opposite Bank of Africa on the Northford Avenue. And our phone line, you can reach us on 0249 2329. I'll take the number again, 0249 2329. So you come in for your locks. At Grazio, we don't just sell ordinary locks. We have very sophisticated door locks. We have knob locks. We have lever lock sets, as you can see. We have door lever and deadbolt, which is a 2-in-1 type of lock. So you have your normal lock and it gives you a reinforcement. We also have, apart from the single padlocks, we want to make sure that our customers enjoy convenience. And so we have a master key set of padlocks for our customers. And so these padlocks individually, they have all the features that I mentioned earlier: anti-fire, anti-acid, hardened steel shackle, anti-hammer, bulletproof, keys cannot be duplicated, and all that. And so you have them in singles and you have them in master key. We have sets of 3, sets of 5, and sets of 10. Okay. We are saying that gone are the days. In this day and age, you don't need to carry too many keys around.
Right.
So you just have one key and you are opening 20 to 30 padlocks. This one I have in my hand, we supplied to Ghana prisons. We supplied a set of 10 to them. Several other high security areas in and around Africa, Russia and other parts of the world, they use this padlock for their high security zones, things they want to protect.
Interesting. So there's a lot more to hear also about special offers. Just pass by the stand of Grazio Nails and Locks at the Habitat Fair, and also you can reach them on all the contacts that Dennis Mensah has told us. He's MD of the company. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Any final words?
Yes, I do have a few final words. And so my final words to our listeners is that Christmas is fast approaching, and around this time, sometimes we hear a few, crime and robbery and all that. Let us be security conscious. Let us secure our property right, especially this time that we are running a pre-Christmas promotion. We are giving 10% off on all our products.
Wow.
Not selected, 10%. And we have up to 40% off on selected products. And so I think it's a good time to shop at Grazio Nails and Locks. Even if you are not ready to shop, come and window shop. Come and let us talk to you. Let us advise on what you have. For all you know, you don't need to buy anything. You need to just, change something. Sometimes people come to buy locks and we advise them to just buy the cylinder.
Okay.
And it's a savings.
Right.
And for renovations too, we have a lot.
Right.
A lot of locks that will bring the spark back into that beautiful edifice you have.
So much that Grazio Nails and Locks has on offer for you. We can't exhaust it all here. That's why you have to reach out to them or visit the EcoBank Journeys Habitat Fair, which starts off today at the International Conference Center through till Sunday. So you can just pass by, see what they have on offer, talk to them, and get yourself the needed security you've always desired. We'll take a quick breather. When I come back, I'll be telling you about the first international conference on gender equality in Ghana. It's 20 minutes to the top of the hour. Thank you for staying with us here on the AM show. It's now time to talk about the first ever international conference on gender equality in Ghana. And it's on the theme Building Bridges, Charting the Course for Gender Equality and Achieving SDG 5 in Developing Economies. And I've been joined by Stella Jima Labi. You should know her. She's the 2022 National Best Teacher. I've hosted her a couple of times. How are you? This time we're not talking education. It feels quite odd, you know.
Yeah, education will definitely come in.
Yeah, I know, but I mean now you're spreading your tentacles and your influence beyond education.
Beyond education.
Now we're looking at what gender equality. Tell us more about this conference.
Okay, so this conference, I'm partnering with I Believe Global. So I Believe Global, it's an organization that believes that there is so much opportunity, so much insight in the women. And so there should be a platform where the women can come together to Jojo, collaborate, talk on pressing issues, and look at strategies that they can put together to be better.
Right. With gender equality, as far as I can remember, being aware is a term I've heard, is a term I'm used to hearing. And here in Ghana, even the affirmative action bill has been one that has been pending for a very long time. And we've had concerns, we've had people who've tried. Would you say that we are slacking a bit? I mean, we'll come into the conference details and how people can join, but are we slacking? Could we have made more progress at this point?
I shouldn't say we are slacking because there are people behind pushing the agenda for us to be here. Nevertheless, a lot needs to be done. Yes, so we are not slacking, but a lot needs to be done to give the opportunity to women. So one of the things that I keep saying is that we are not struggling to take over.
Yeah.
We are not struggling to take their place. All we are saying is give us a space around the table. We are all capable, and so give us a chance, give us a space.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
Put me on the spot.
You know that at least the two major political parties have elected their flag bearers. There's already some lobbying for who is going to be a running mate and all that. And there have been conversations about, again, women showing up. Unfortunately, we didn't see any woman put herself up as, you know, wanting to be a flag bearer either for the NPP or the NDC. So it's almost, well, some will say that it's never too late. Can you consider giving, what are your thoughts on that?
I feel there are so many barriers preventing the women to step up and to step out. You can bear with me that a lot of investment, a lot of money came into play during these elections that have passed. Do we have those monies?
Yeah.
We are capable, but do we have the money?
Yeah.
And so it's the money, the resources. And so that is why we have to come together, look at strategies that you are a woman, I'm a woman, can all women come together? Can we push one woman to go forward? Because once that woman gets around the table, you can imagine the number of women who get around the table. And so the women are not slacking. The political parties are not pushing us aside. However, the resources are not there.
Interesting. All right, so tell us about this conference. When is it happening? It's an international conference. Who's going to be speaking? How can we participate?
So it's happening tomorrow.
Okay.
At the CD Conference Center, University of Ghana, Legon. We have diverse speakers. Now, since it's an international conference, that's not the stay in your room and have international conference.
Okay.
We have speakers coming all over the world. We have speakers from Sweden. We have speakers of confirmed participation from the US. We've got the African countries, virtually all the African countries. We have reps already in Ghana, ready to take part. But on our level, we have Professor Smile, the former Vice Chancellor for Koforidua Technical University. She's the chairperson for the conference. We have our own mummy, Gifty Ohene Auntie.
All right.
Gifty Auntie, Ohene Gifty Auntie, as part of the guest speakers. We have the parliamentary committee, the one on gender, will be there.
We need them.
We need them. We need them to push the agenda.
Right.
So we have a lot of speakers. There's also going to be conference. At the conference, there's going to be paper presentations.
Okay.
So this is not just going to be a talk shop.
All right.
We are going to have review of literature.
Right.
People have conducted studies. So that's what education comes in, right? So people have conducted studies. Can we look at the statistics? Can we look at the analysis of the study that was conducted? What was the outcome? Is it that there is something that we are not doing? Or there is something that we have to do for these developing economies. And so we have, we are going to have series of panel discussions. We are going to have series of paper presentations. And it's free.
It's free?
Yes.
Wow. Please, tomorrow
it's
at the
absolutely
CD
free.
Conference Hall at the University of Ghana, Legon, you're interested in gender equality, you're interested in meeting the people who matter, like, the Gender Committee in Parliament, making a case before them, listening to other people and seeing how we can all together bridge the gender equality gap in Ghana. This is the place you want to be. What time does it start, though?
It starts at 8:30.
At 8:30?
It's a whole day event.
Okay.
It was actually supposed to be 2 days, tomorrow and Saturday, but we felt that let's come together. Once we come, we don't close. So we've exhausted all the issues. So we are going to start at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, and we close at 6 p.m. It's 5:30, but just tune your mind that once you're coming to collaborate, you're coming to communicate, and you're coming to connect with other women across the globe who are striving for change.
Right. So, there are people who watch us all over the world, even all across the country, who may love to be a part of the conversation but can't make it physically. Is there an opportunity for us to listen in, at least, to hear some of the findings of this research work that has already been done? How do we do that?
So we are going to stream live.
Okay.
Just Google I Believe Global.
I Believe Global.
So we believe in women, we believe in young people, we believe in the men as well. Because see, the head cannot stand without the neck.
Right.
And the neck can neither stand without the head.
Right.
And so we need each other, right?
That's fantastic. That's a good way to end it. That's Stella Jimalabi. She's 2022 National Best Teacher, and she has partnered with I Believe Global to come up with the first international gender equality conference being organized in Ghana. And you don't want to miss that. You want to be a part of it. You want to join I Believe Global, even if you cannot be there physically. You can join them virtually on ibelieveglobal.com.
Yes.
All right. And then you can stream there as well. I am grateful that you made time to join us this morning. Benjamin and I wish you the very best of the rest of the day, but we are not done yet. You know that today the Joy News, EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair has begun. So we'll leave you with something from one of our partner and sponsors on the fair. But I'll be back at 10 with News Desk to stay.
Well then.